The story begins under a blanket of celestial signs. Kunti, a young princess of the Kuru dynasty, performs a sacred ritual invoking the sun god, Surya. To her shock, Surya blesses her with a son, gifted with the divine armor and earrings that grant him invulnerability. Her shame of having conceived out of wedlock forces her to abandon the newborn. This marks the beginning of Karna's fate, a journey of unyielding adversity. The river delivers Karna to the charioteer Adharma, who finds the child floating in a basket, his divine aura unmistakable. Adharma and his wife, Radha, are overjoyed to raise the child as their own, naming him Vasusena. Unbeknownst to them, Karna's destiny as a warrior and his connection to divine forces have already begun shaping his future. Growing up in the humble household of Adharma, Karna remains unaware of his true heritage. However, his remarkable skills in archery and his natural leadership abilities soon become apparent. His desire to learn the martial arts is met with mockery from the local nobles, who see him as no more than a charioteer's son. Karna's thirst for knowledge leads him to seek the guidance of Guru Dronacharya, the greatest teacher of martial arts in the land. However, his status as a charioteer's son proves to be a barrier, as Dronacharya refuses to teach him, believing that a noble warrior should be born to royalty. Karna's heart is crushed, but his resolve hardens. It is then that he meets Duryodhana, who, recognizing Karna's potential, offers him a place in his court. Karna's meeting with Duryodhana proves to be a turning point. Duryodhana sees in Karna a warrior with great potential and a brother in spirit. He offers Karna the chance to become a part of his royal court, and gives him the title of Radheya, meaning son of Radha. Duryodhana's friendship fills the void in Karna's heart, and he swears eternal loyalty to him, vowing to support his cause at any cost. The sun god, Surya, reveals to Karna the divine armor and earrings that he had gifted him at birth. These sacred gifts make Karna invulnerable, giving him unmatched strength in battle. However, these gifts come with a price, for they also tether him to his fate, sealing his destiny as a warrior whose life will be shaped by his divine connection. Armed with his new gifts, Karna swears to become the greatest archer and warrior the world has ever seen. His dreams are bound to his desire for respect and recognition, as he no longer seeks to be known merely as a charioteer's son but as a force to be reckoned with. This vow sets the stage for his fateful conflict with the Pandavas, particularly Arjuna, his half-brother, unknowingly. Karna, in an effort to prove his worth, enters the great tournament held by King Dhritarashtra to showcase the prowess of the Kuru princes. As he takes aim with his bow in front of the grand assembly, Drona, Bhishma, and the royal courtiers watch in awe. But when Karna declares himself the challenger, his low birth comes to light, and he is cruelly mocked by the royal family. This is the moment Karna's rivalry with Arjuna begins, and his desire for respect and recognition is sealed in his heart. Karna, now determined to surpass all others, seeks out Parashurama, the great sage and warrior, for further training in archery. Parashurama, believing Karna to be a Brahmin, agrees to teach him. However, when Karna is caught performing a menial task, Parashurama realizes Karna's true caste and curses him, sealing his fate. The curse says that Karna will forget his divine knowledge at the moment he needs it most. This dark prophecy becomes a key element of Karna's eventual downfall. Karna's dedication to Duryodhana is unwavering, and in recognition of his loyalty, Duryodhana crowns Karna as the king of anger. This coronation marks Karna's formal entry into the realm of kingship, giving him both the power he seeks and the responsibility that comes with it. Despite his newfound title, Karna is still burdened by his lack of knowledge about his true parentage. His sense of duty to Duryodhana only deepens as he pledges to fight alongside him against the Pandavas. Karna's rise as a warrior places him directly in conflict with the Pandavas, particularly Arjuna. The rivalry between them grows as they both strive to prove their superiority in the art of warfare. Karna's efforts to match Arjuna's skill are relentless, leading to moments of both success and failure. However, it is clear that their conflict is not just one of arms, but of destiny, as they share an unknowable bond, the bond of brotherhood, which Karna is yet unaware of. At a pivotal moment during the war, Kunti, the mother who had abandoned him, reveals to Karna the truth of his birth. She explains that he is, in fact, her firstborn son, and that his true identity as a Pandava has been hidden from him all along. She begs Karna to switch sides, to fight with his brothers, but Karna, though torn by emotion, refuses. His loyalty to Duryodhana, and the years he has spent fighting alongside him, outweigh the bond he now knows exists between him and the Pandavas. Karna's fate is further sealed by a curse from Shani, the god of justice, who once served as his charioteer. As Karna is caught in a moment of vulnerability during battle, Shani curses him that his chariot wheel will sink into the earth, preventing him from fighting effectively. This marks a turning point in Karna's final moments, as the forces of fate converge against him. Karna, always the hero, faces this curse with stoic acceptance. As the battle between the Pandavas and Kauravas reaches its climax, Karna faces Arjuna one last time. The two warriors are at the height of their powers, and the stakes are at their highest. Karna's chariot, cursed by Shani, finally sinks, leaving him vulnerable. Arjuna, guided by Lord Krishna, takes this moment to strike. Karna's tragic end is marked by his final words, a plea for mercy, a reflection of the heroic warrior who has fought for honor, love, and friendship, but who is now undone by fate. As Karna succumbs to his injuries, he speaks his final words, recounting the challenges of his life and the betrayals he suffered. He remembers the kindness of his teacher Parashurama, his bond with Duryodhana, and the bitterness of never knowing his true lineage. As his life fades, Karna's spirit is filled with peace, for he knows that he has lived with honor and fulfilled his destiny, despite the harsh fate that was forced upon him. After Karna's death, his soul ascends to the heavens, where he is received by his divine father, Surya, the sun god. Surya, deeply proud of his son's valor and sacrifice, embraces Karna and grants him eternal honor. Karna, now free from the bonds of the mortal realm, is immortalized in the cosmic order, his name forever remembered in the annals of history. His legacy becomes that of the greatest warrior, a tragic hero who defied the gods themselves. Kunti, moved by the loss of Karna, finally reveals the truth to her sons. Their brother, Karna, who had fought so fiercely against them, was their elder brother, born to her before her marriage. The Pandavas, especially Yudhishthira and Arjuna, are overcome with shock and sorrow. They mourn the man who, though their brother by blood, was their greatest adversary. In their grief, they realize the cruel irony of fate, and they honor Karna's memory in their own way. Kunti, now a woman burdened by regret, mourns the loss of Karna. She weeps for the son she had abandoned, for the love she could never give him. Her heart breaks at the realization that she could never rectify her wrongs. In a quiet moment, she reflects on the pain of a mother who had been forced to give up her child for the sake of royal politics, only to lose. him in a war she never wanted him to fight. As Karna's life reaches its end, the armor and earrings that had been gifted to him by his father, Surya, are taken from his body. These divine gifts, which had granted him protection and invincibility, are now returned to the heavens. The loss of these sacred items symbolizes the end of Karna's unique connection to the divine. Despite the loss, his indomitable spirit lives on, inspiring warriors across the ages. Indra, the king of the gods and father of Arjuna, approaches Karna with a promise, a divine weapon, the Vajra, to ensure his victory in the great war. However, Indra's heart is filled with doubt, knowing that Karna's strength exceeds that of any mortal. Indra, knowing the terrible cost, curses Karna, ensuring that the weapon will only work when Karna's chariot wheel is stuck in the ground. This curse leads to Karna's defeat on the day of his death, sealing his tragic fate. Karna enters the battlefield as a true warrior of the Kauravas, his chariot drawn by 4 mighty horses. His bow is poised, his resolve unshaken. The sounds of battle are deafening as Karna leads the charge, firing arrows with deadly precision. His presence on the battlefield is like a storm, a force that sweeps all before him. Though the Pandavas fight valiantly, Karna's power seems unstoppable, and his heart is filled with the fire of destiny. As the battle rages on, Karna reflects on his unwavering loyalty to Duryodhana. Though he knows the Kauravas are on the losing side, he remains steadfast in his vow to protect his friend, the man who gave him a throne when the world had abandoned him. Karna's loyalty is a reflection of the complex world in which he lives, one where friendship and honor sometimes outweigh the pull of blood and destiny. The rivalry between Karna and Arjuna comes to a boiling point on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. The two great warriors face off, each fueled by their personal histories and intense pride. Their chariots meet in the heart of the battle, and they exchange arrows with the power of gods. The ground beneath them shakes as the clash of their weapons reverberates throughout the battlefield. It is not only a fight for victory, but a fight for legacy and honor. As Karna's chariot wheel gets stuck in the earth, the curse of Indra comes into play. Karna's strength falters for the first time, and his focus shifts to the task of freeing his chariot. This moment, charged with divine irony, is when Arjuna is finally able to land the fatal blow. Despite Karna's great power and invincibility, his fate has been sealed by the curse, and he must now face the consequences of a lifetime of choices. The moment arrives. With Karna vulnerable and his chariot immobile, Arjuna unleashes a devastating arrow that pierces Karna's chest. The battlefield falls silent as the great warrior slumps in his chariot. The earth beneath him seems to mourn, and the once mighty warrior, now dying, reflects on his life, filled with the weight of all the choices that led him here. As Karna's life slips away, he offers a final prayer, asking for forgiveness from the gods for the sins he has committed. He seeks solace in the fact that he fought with honor, despite the deception and betrayal he faced throughout his life. His prayer is a reflection of his unwavering faith and his recognition of the cosmic forces that shaped his destiny. The Pandavas, upon learning of Karna's death, are filled with sorrow. Arjuna, in particular, is racked with guilt, knowing that Karna was his brother by birth. Despite the years of rivalry and conflict, Arjuna mourns the loss of a man who could have been a true ally. The Pandavas reflect on the tragedies of the war, and the brotherhood that was lost due to the choices of fate and destiny. Despite his tragic end, Karna's name lives on through the annals of history. His story is passed down through generations, celebrated as one of the greatest and most tragic heroes to ever walk the earth. His unparalleled bravery, unwavering loyalty, and sacrifices are remembered in epic tales and songs sung by bards and poets. Karna becomes a symbol of honor, duty, and the often painful reality of destiny. Kunti, now reflecting on the pain of her decision, silently grieves for the son she never truly knew. In a moment of solitude, she weeps for Karna, wishing that things had been different, that she could have embraced him, and that fate could have allowed him to live a full life. The weight of her choices hangs over her, and she realizes that the bonds of motherhood, once severed, are impossible to mend. Duryodhana, upon hearing of Karna's death, is filled with deep grief. His bond with Karna was one of the strongest in his life, and now he has lost his closest ally. In his grief, Duryodhana recalls the countless battles they fought together, the victories and defeats, and the moments of true friendship that defined their relationship. Duryodhana's legacy is forever tied to Karna's, as the two will always be remembered as the greatest warriors of their time. Karna's divine armor, granted to him by his father, the sun god Surya, is both a blessing and a curse. As he faces the great trials of his life, he becomes increasingly aware that the armor, which once shielded him from death, has placed him in the path of divine retribution. It is only when Indra, disguised as a Brahmin, asks for the armor as a gift that Karna is forced to part with it. This act, though born of his innate generosity, leads directly to his downfall in the final battle. Before Karna was born, Kunti, the wife of King Pandu, unknowingly became a mother to the greatest warrior of her time. Driven by curiosity and the promise of celestial powers, Kunti called upon the sun god Surya, and Karna was born to her as a result. Though she could not keep him, she sent her son away, afraid of the consequences. Little did she know that this decision would shape the future of both her own family and the world. Despite being abandoned by his mother, Karna was raised by a charioteer and his wife, who gave him the love and training he needed to become a warrior. As Karna grows, his strength and determination set him apart from others. He eventually becomes the king of Anga, a kingdom that he rules with honor, but his rise is shadowed by his desire to prove himself to the world and his unknowingly thwarted path towards greatness. Karna's encounter with Duryodhana, the eldest Kaurava, marks the beginning of a lifelong alliance. Duryodhana sees in Karna a kindred spirit, someone who has suffered as much as he has and can be trusted. In turn, Karna, desperate to prove his worth, pledges his loyalty to Duryodhana. Together, they form a bond that will alter the course of history, as Karna's loyalty to Duryodhana ultimately leads him to take part in the Great War of Kurukshetra. Karna's strength as a warrior is unmatched, thanks to his mastery of the divine weapons granted to him by the gods. Among these, the most powerful is the divine spear, a weapon capable of destroying entire armies. As Karna prepares for battle, he holds this spear with reverence, knowing that it is the ultimate weapon in his arsenal. However, his sense of duty and honor compels him to hold back from using it until the final moment, as he knows its destructive power. One of Karna's most defining traits is his immense generosity. Despite the hardships he faces, Karna never hesitates to help those in need. Whether it is giving away his golden armor or providing his wealth to the poor, Karna's charity knows no bounds. His generosity is both a source of his greatness and his undoing, as it often leaves him vulnerable to those who seek to exploit his kindness. In the midst of the war, Karna faces one of his toughest opponents, Ghatotkacha, the son of Bhima. Ghatotkacha is a giant, with immense magical powers that make him a formidable foe. As they clash in a fierce duel, Karna must call upon every ounce of his skill and strength to defeat the mighty Gatotkacha. The battle is a turning point in the war, as Karna proves his prowess but also reveals the vulnerabilities that will lead to his eventual downfall. The final encounter between Karna and Arjuna is inevitable. Both warriors are bound by fate, and their rivalry will come to an explosive end on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjuna, determined to avenge his brothers, and Karna, motivated by a lifetime of honor and vengeance, clash with all their might. The moment of Karna's death marks the end of an era and the culmination of the long and painful journey of both men. In his final moments, Karna faces his death with dignity. Despite the adversities, curses, and betrayals that marked his life, he dies with the knowledge that he fought for honor and loyalty. As Arjuna's arrow strikes him, Karna recalls his life's journey, the pain, the pride, and the unsung virtues that he carried. In his death, Karna is exalted not only as a warrior but as a man who, despite everything, never strayed from his principles. After Karna's death, Kunti, overwhelmed by grief, reveals to her sons the truth of Karna's heritage. She tells Arjuna and the others that Karna was their older brother, the son she had borne before her marriage. This revelation stuns the Pandavas, who mourn the loss of a brother they never knew. The truth of Karna's birth and his unyielding loyalty to the Kauravas only intensifies the tragedy of his untimely death. Karna's death, though tragic, is not the end of his story. His legacy endures as a symbol of sacrifice, honor, and unyielding loyalty. His life is remembered not just for his prowess on the battlefield but for his unwavering commitment to his ideals. In the aftermath of the Kurukshetra war, Karna's name is spoken with reverence, a reminder of the complexities of duty, fate, and the human spirit. Upon Karna's death, his soul ascends to heaven, where he is greeted by the gods with honor. In the celestial realms, Karna is hailed as a hero, revered for his sacrifices, his unwavering loyalty, and his greatness as a warrior. In heaven, he is granted the peace he was denied on earth, finally free from the burdens of his past and the injustices he endured. After Karna's death, the Pandavas, upon learning his true identity, are overcome with grief. The realization that they had unknowingly fought and killed their own brother strikes them deeply. Each Pandava is left to reflect on the cruelty of fate and the wars that have torn their family apart. This moment of mourning is a quiet reflection on the costs of war and the price of their victory. Duryodhana, the Kaurava prince, mourns the death of Karna with an intensity that only those who have lost a true friend can understand. Karna's loyalty was unwavering, and his death signifies the end of Duryodhana's dreams of victory in the war. In a private moment, Duryodhana is shown reflecting on the friendship and bond that sustained him throughout the conflict, as the weight of his loss settles upon him. Karna's death is a turning point in the Kurukshetra war. It marks the downfall of the Kaurava forces, as the greatest warrior on their side is no longer present to lead them. The Pandavas, though victorious, are left with the bitter knowledge that the war has cost them their brother, their honor, and their humanity. Karna's final battle symbolizes the tragic loss of a world where honor and fate collided in a deadly game of power. While the Pandavas emerge victorious in the war, the death of Karna weighs heavily on them. They realize that despite the grand victory, the cost of the war has been immeasurable. Karna's death symbolizes not only the fall of the Kaurava Empire but also the irreversible damage done to their own hearts. The brothers reflect on the personal sacrifices they made, the blood spilled, and the brother they lost, knowing they can never truly celebrate the victory they fought so hard for. Karna's legacy lives on, despite his tragic end. Historians and poets alike begin to sing his praises, recognizing him not only as a great warrior but as a symbol of valor, loyalty, and honor. Over time, Karna is remembered not for his allegiances but for his nobility in the face of adversity. His story becomes a lesson in duty, sacrifice, and the complexity of honor in the pursuit of justice. Karna's final resting place is a sacred site, visited by travelers and mourners alike. His tomb is adorned with offerings and flowers, as people from all walks of life come to pay homage to the great warrior. The site becomes a symbol of sacrifice, representing the price of loyalty, the struggles of a man born into adversity, and the honor that transcends life and death. After his death, Karna is believed to have achieved a divine union with the gods. In the spiritual realm, he is granted a place among the most revered deities, his soul elevated for its unmatched courage, sacrifice, and unwavering loyalty. This final ascension marks the culmination of his journey from a mortal warrior to a celestial figure, a symbol of the eternal struggle between fate and free will. The story of Karna raises the question of whether his fate was predetermined, or if he had the power to change it. The trials he faced, the curses he received, and the choices he made all point to a man who was caught in the web of destiny, yet never strayed from his core beliefs. This philosophical inquiry leaves a lingering question in the minds of those who reflect upon his story. Did Karna make his own fate, or was he a pawn of divine will? Karna's fate was sealed long before the battle began, with a curse bestowed upon him by a Brahmin. This curse, which rendered Karna unable to call upon his divine weapons when needed most, became a symbol of the unfairness of destiny. The Brahmin's anger at Karna's act of killing his cow was a moment that would change the course of the war, highlighting the tension between righteousness and survival, and the inexplicable nature of divine justice. One of Karna's most revered qualities was his unparalleled generosity. Known for his charity, Karna would give away everything he possessed to the needy, even at the cost of his own well-being. His actions were motivated by a deep sense of Dharma, a belief that he was meant to give back to the world that had given him so little. This boundless generosity earned him the respect of all who encountered him, even those who saw him as their enemy. Karna's training began from a young age, but it was not until he met the great teacher Parashurama that his skills were honed to perfection. Parashurama, renowned for his mastery of weaponry and martial arts, recognized Karna's potential and took him under his wing. Their bond was strong, but it was ultimately built on deception, as Karna concealed his true identity from his guru, knowing that he would be rejected if Parashurama learned of his Kshatriya lineage. Karna's allegiance to Duryodhana was forged during a time of great personal hardship. When Karna was humiliated at the court of Hastinapura by Draupadi and the Kuru princes, Duryodhana, in an act of compassion, offered him the throne of Anga, a kingdom that would elevate Karna's status. This gesture of friendship solidified their bond, and Karna pledged his unwavering loyalty to Duryodhana, becoming one of his most trusted allies in the battle against the Pandavas. Karna's contributions to the battlefield were not only as a warrior but also as a strategist. His tactical genius came to the forefront during the Kurukshetra war, where he masterminded several key battles that initially swung the momentum in favor of the Kauravas. His knowledge of warfare, honed through years of training and experience, allowed him to anticipate his enemies' moves and counter them effectively. However, It was his honor and strict adherence to Dharma that ultimately led to his downfall. During his time in exile, Karna was once asked to perform a sacred ritual involving the Ganga, the river goddess. This ritual was believed to grant the performer divine powers. However, Karna, in his desire to remain grounded in the earthly realm, refused the divine blessings that could have made him invincible. This decision, while rooted in his sense of duty and humility, marked a crucial turning point in his life, as he chose the mortal path despite the possibility of unimaginable power. Throughout the Kurukshetra war, Karna's loyalty to Duryodhana was unwavering, but there came a moment of doubt. When he learned of the Pandavas' true identity and their connection to him, Karna was torn between his duty to his friend and his own blood. This internal struggle was the most significant battle he fought, one of honor, identity, and fate. Ultimately, Karna chose to remain loyal to Duryodhana, but the conflict within him left a permanent mark on his soul. On the fateful 17th day of the Kurukshetra war, Karna faced his most dire challenge. After being disarmed and his chariot wheel sinking into the earth, Karna fought with unmatched valor, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. The gods themselves watched from above as Karna's destiny came to fruition, with his tragic end marking the culmination of his life's struggle between loyalty, destiny, and honor. Karna's death at the hands of Arjuna was the climax of the Kurukshetra war. As he struggled to free his chariot from the mud, his enemy Arjuna, guided by Lord Krishna, took the fatal shot. It was a moment that encapsulated the complex nature of Karna's life, a warrior destined for greatness, yet forever thwarted by forces beyond his control. His death symbolized the harsh reality of fate, and the ending of a man who could never escape his divine curse. After Karna's death, his legacy lived on as a symbol of both divine injustice and the tragic complexity of heroism. His life had been marked by curses, deceit, and betrayals, but in his final moments, Karna rose above it all, demonstrating that even in death, his sense of duty and honor could not be erased. The world mourned a hero who was never truly allowed to live out his potential, and his story became a powerful reminder of the limits of mortal ambition against divine will. When Kunti, Karna's biological mother, learned of her son's death, her heart broke. For years, she had kept his identity a secret, torn between her love for her son and her loyalty to her other children. The revelation of his identity came too late, and Kunti could only mourn the loss of a son she had never truly known. Her sorrow was compounded by the realization that her silence had led to his tragic death, a burden she would carry for the rest of her life. Karna's legacy endures as a hero whose potential was never fully realized. His story is a reminder of the fragility of fate and the consequences of choices made under duress. He remains a symbol of sacrifice, loyalty, and the complexities of moral dilemmas. Though he was not destined to win the war, his actions shaped the outcome in ways that would be remembered for centuries, and his name would live on in both sorrow and admiration. After Karna's death, his son, Kurukshetra, carried on his father's legacy. Born to Karna's wife, Subhadra, Kurukshetra grew up hearing stories of his father's valor and virtue. Though he did not inherit his father's fate, Kurukshetra became a warrior in his own right, demonstrating that even in the face of tragedy, the cycle of life and legacy continues. Karna's birth was shrouded in mystery, as it was the result of divine intervention. Kunti, while still a young maiden, was granted a boon by the sage Durvasa, allowing her to invoke any deity and bear a child by them. In a moment of curiosity, she invoked the sun god, Surya, and Karna was born, fully grown and radiant, a child of both celestial and mortal worlds. His birth was a sign of both greatness and tragedy, as his life would be marked by conflict from the start. Karna's thirst for knowledge and his ambition to become a great warrior led him to the great teacher Parashurama. Karna, disguised as a Brahmin, sought the wisdom of the master, learning the deadly arts of warfare, archery, and combat. His time with Parashurama was a crucial turning point, shaping his skills and preparing him for the monumental challenges ahead. Little did he know, his identity as a kshatriya would eventually lead to his greatest curse. The curse of Parashurama came at a moment when Karna's identity as a kshatriya was revealed. After Karna boasted of his newfound skills, Parashurama, who had taught him with the belief that Karna was a Brahmin, learned the truth. In his fury, Parashurama cursed Karna, proclaiming that he would forget all of his martial skills when he needed them most. This curse would ultimately play a significant role in Karna's death on the battlefield. Karna's relationship with Duryodhana, the eldest Kaurava, was forged in loyalty and camaraderie. After Karna was humiliated by the Pandavas at a royal tournament, Duryodhana saw the potential in him and made him king of anger, a symbolic gesture that solidified their bond. Karna's devotion to Duryodhana was unwavering, and he would fight alongside him in the war, despite knowing the moral consequences of his actions. Despite his loyalty to Duryodhana, Karna was known for his unmatched generosity. One of the most famous instances was when he gave away his armor and earrings to Indra, the god of the heavens, who had come to him in the guise of a Brahmin. This act of selflessness was a testament to Karna's honor, though it would cost him dearly in the future, as his divine armor was the source of his invincibility. In the midst of the war, Lord Krishna sought out Karna, offering him a chance to abandon Duryodhana and join the Pandavas, revealing Karna's true heritage as the son of Kunti. Karna's response was one of deep sorrow but unshakable loyalty. Despite learning that his brothers were the Pandavas, Karna chose to remain loyal to Duryodhana, his friend and benefactor. This moment encapsulated Karna's tragic inner conflict, torn between familial duty and his sense of honor. As Karna lay dying on the battlefield, he called out to his brothers, the Pandavas, and gave them his final blessings. He told them that they were the rightful heirs to the throne, acknowledging their strength and wisdom. His death was a final act of reconciliation, where he acknowledged his fate and his place in the larger cosmic order. Karna's words echoed in the minds of the Pandavas, reminding them of the complexities of their shared history. After his death, Karna's soul ascended to the heavens, where he was greeted by the gods. His body, though ravaged by the wounds of war, was now free of suffering. Karna's ascent marked the end of his tragic journey, but in the divine realm, he was honored as a great warrior, known for his courage, selflessness, and sacrifice. His life story became an eternal lesson in the importance of loyalty, honor, and the consequences of fate. The death of Karna sent shockwaves through the battlefield, leaving the Pandavas in grief and disbelief. Arjuna, who had fought Karna in their final confrontation, felt a deep sorrow for the man he had once considered a rival. Despite Karna's actions against them, the Pandavas respected his warrior spirit, and they mourned the loss of a soul that had always been bound by honor and duty. The moment was a reflection of the complexity of the Kurukshetra war, where even enemies shared bonds of respect. In the days following Karna's death, tales of his valor spread throughout the land. Bards and warriors alike recounted his feats on the battlefield, speaking of his unmatched courage, his unwavering loyalty to Duryodhana, and his noble sacrifice. These stories continued to inspire generations, making Karna a symbol of heroic defiance and tragic fate. His name became synonymous with strength, generosity, and a commitment to one's word. After his ascent to the heavens, Karna stood before Yama, the god of death, to face his judgment. His life, full of contradictions, was weighed in the balance. Despite his acts of violence in the war, Yama recognized Karna's nobility and his selfless acts of charity. Karna's eternal soul was granted a place among the stars, a final reward for his honor and sacrifice. His journey had come full circle, from a humble charioteer's son to a celestial being. Karna's death marked the final turning point in the Kurukshetra war, but his legacy lived on long after the battle ended. The story of Karna became a timeless lesson in the eternal struggle between Dharma, righteousness, and Adharma, unrighteousness. His life, filled with honor, duty, and tragic fate, raised questions about the complexities of morality, loyalty, and fate. His legacy would be debated for centuries, and his story would inspire countless heroes to come. Karna's story began in the most humble of circumstances, as the abandoned son of Kunti, raised by a charioteer. Yet his ambition and desire for greatness led him to rise to the highest ranks of warriors. His rise was fueled by his unwavering belief in his worth, and his determination to overcome the limitations placed upon him by birth. Karna's journey from obscurity to fame was one of the most remarkable aspects of his life, marking him as a hero of destiny. The revelation of Karna's true identity was a pivotal moment in the Mahabharata. For much of his life, Karna was unaware that he was the son of Kunti, a secret that would have profound implications for his relationships with the Pandavas. When Kunti revealed the truth to him, Karna's internal conflict intensified. His loyalty to Duryodhana, his friend and benefactor, clashed with his newfound knowledge of his birth, and his bond with the Pandavas became an emotional and moral battlefield. As the Great War unfolded, Karna found himself torn between his duty to Duryodhana and his moral compass. Although he fought valiantly on the side of the Kauravas, there were moments when Karna questioned the righteousness of the war. His friendship with Duryodhana, however, kept him loyal to the Kauravas, even as he knew the consequences of his actions. Karna's role in the war was tragic, as his loyalty to his friend led him into battle against his own brothers, with whom he shared blood. Karna's unwavering loyalty to Duryodhana was one of the defining aspects of his character. From the moment Duryodhana befriended Karna, recognizing his valor and worth, Karna pledged his life to his friend. This bond, forged in mutual respect and shared ambitions, shaped much of Karna's actions throughout his life. His loyalty to Duryodhana would remain steadfast, even when it meant going against his own family and facing the consequences of the war. Throughout his life, Karna was known for his generosity. His acts of charity were legendary, and he never turned away anyone in need. One of the most well-known stories is that Karna gave away his armor and earrings, which were gifts from the gods, to the Brahmin who asked for them. This act of selflessness was a testament to his belief in Dharma and his commitment to doing what was right, even if it meant sacrificing his own safety and well-being. Kunti's curse on Karna was a turning point in his life. Although she had abandoned him as a child, Kunti's love for her son never waned. When she finally revealed his true identity, she also warned him of the curse that had been placed upon him. She had cursed him to forget the knowledge of his divine weapons when he needed them most. This curse would haunt Karna throughout the war, particularly during his final battle with Arjuna, when he was unable to use his full power. One of the most pivotal moments in Karna's life occurred during his encounter with Krishna, who sought to sway him away from fighting for the Kauravas. Krishna, understanding Karna's inner turmoil, offered him a chance to switch sides and join the Pandavas, promising him a place among them as a true son of Kunti. However, Karna, bound by his loyalty to Duryodhana, rejected Krishna's offer, choosing honor and duty over family and blood. This moment encapsulated Karna's tragic flaw, his loyalty to his friend over his own kin. In the final battle, Karna faced Arjuna for a duel that would decide the fate of the war. Despite his incredible skill and valor, Karna's destiny had already been sealed by his past choices. His chariot wheel became stuck in the earth, a divine intervention that allowed Arjuna to strike the fatal blow. As Karna fell, he realized that his life had been a series of tests by fate, where his greatest strengths and weaknesses had shaped his destiny. The moment was both tragic and heroic, a final testament to Karna's undying spirit. Before his death, Karna made one final request, that his body be treated with honor after his passing. He asked that his golden armor, the gift of his divine father, be returned to him after his death, to preserve his dignity. This final plea spoke to his enduring sense of honor and the need for justice, even in the face of death. It was a moment of vulnerability, where Karna sought one last act of respect for his life and his legacy. After his death, Karna was granted a place in heaven, not for his actions in battle, but for his steadfast adherence to Dharma and his selfless charity. His soul ascended to the heavens, where he was honored as a hero among the gods. Karna's ascension symbolized the eternal struggle between good and evil, and the importance of honor, duty, and sacrifice. His legacy lived on, not only in the memory of his deeds but in the lessons his life taught to all who followed. Karna's story has had a lasting impact on the Mahabharata, shaping the way warriors, kings, and even gods are perceived in the epic. His journey from a lowly charioteer's son to a mighty warrior of the Kaurava side is a tale of ambition, honor, and sacrifice. Karna's tragic end serves as a powerful reminder of the limits of human agency against the forces of fate. His unwavering loyalty, courage, and selflessness are qualities that continue to inspire and evoke admiration, even from his enemies. The gods themselves reflected on Karna's life and his choices. They saw his unwavering dedication to Dharma and his tragic fate as a lesson for all mortals. Karna's life was filled with divine interventions, and the gods understood that his greatness was not just in his deeds but in his spirit. His story became a divine allegory for the complexities of Dharma, justice, and the consequences of one's choices. Karna's contribution to the war was unmatched. He was hailed as the greatest warrior of his time, known for his skill in archery, his courage on the battlefield, and his respect for the rules of war. However, his allegiance to the Kauravas often put him in opposition to his own brothers, the Pandavas, particularly Arjuna. Karna's rivalry with Arjuna became one of the most epic duels in the history of the Mahabharata, and their final confrontation would decide the fate of the war. Despite his loyalty to Duryodhana, Karna often found himself torn between his love for his mother, Kunti, and his commitment to the Kauravas. The revelation of his true parentage created a deep internal conflict, especially when he realized that he was a brother to the Pandavas. This moment of revelation was one of the most poignant in his life, as he faced the ultimate dilemma between family and duty. As Karna fell in battle, he uttered his final words to Arjuna, acknowledging that the war had been a test of fate and that his life had been dictated by the very forces he had tried to defy. His words reflected the profound understanding he had gained over the years, knowing that no matter his strength, his destiny was not entirely in his hands. His death was both an end and a culmination of the struggle between honor, fate, and family. Even after his death, Karna's influence remained strong in the lives of the Pandavas. Arjuna, in particular, came to recognize Karna's greatness, and his rivalry with him became a symbol of the tension between duty and personal desire. Karna's life and choices shaped not only the course of the war, but also the way the Pandavas understood the complexities of Dharma, loyalty, and sacrifice. In the years following the war, Karna's name was spoken with reverence. Even in the midst of their victory, the Pandavas would often reflect on the courage, honor, and determination that Karna exhibited. His legacy became a symbol of what it meant to be a true warrior, steadfast in loyalty, bound by duty, and ready to sacrifice everything for a cause greater than oneself. One of the most defining aspects of Karna's character was his unwavering commitment to charity. Known as Dhanveer, he was famous for giving away anything and everything that was asked of him, even when it meant sacrificing his own needs. His generosity was boundless, and his acts of charity have been immortalized in the stories of the Mahabharata as examples of the virtues of selflessness and compassion. Karna's loyalty to Duryodhana was one of the most notable aspects of his character. Their bond was formed not only out of gratitude for Duryodhana's acceptance of him as a friend, but also out of a shared sense of defiance against the world that had wronged them. Their friendship, however, would ultimately lead to Karna's downfall, as Duryodhana's ambitions pushed them into war against the Pandavas, his own blood brothers. As the war approached, Karna played a crucial role in Duryodhana's war council, offering strategic advice and serving as one of the Kauravas' most trusted commanders. His military acumen and understanding of warfare were unparalleled. Despite his loyalty to Duryodhana, Karna was often at odds with other members of the Kaurava faction, especially when it came to the treatment of the Pandavas and the harshness of their tactics. In one of the most poignant moments of the Mahabharata, Karna receives divine weapons from the gods. Though these weapons make him almost invincible, they also serve to heighten the tragic nature of his fate. Karna's relationship with the gods was complicated, for they were both his benefactors and his tormentors, helping him when he needed it but also setting him on a path to destruction. The moment of Karna's death in battle is one of the most heart-wrenching scenes in the Mahabharata. His final moments were marked by his vulnerability, as his chariot wheel got stuck in the ground. He was unarmed, yet still he faced Arjuna with bravery. Karna's death symbolized the ultimate sacrifice and the tragic culmination of his life's journey. His fate, sealed by both destiny and divine intervention, became a lesson in the fragility of human power. After Karna's death, the Pandavas, despite their rivalry with him, ensured that his funeral rites were performed with the highest honors. Karna's body was bathed in sacred waters, and his soul was sent off to the heavens with reverence. This moment of solemnity was a testament to the respect Karna had earned, not just from his enemies, but from all who understood the true nature of his character. Karna's divine parentage is one of the most important aspects of his life. As the son of Surya, the sun god, he was endowed with extraordinary strength and a radiant aura. Surya, as the source of life and vitality, blessed Karna with unmatched bravery, power, and a fiery spirit, which were crucial to his character as a warrior and a ruler. His very existence was imbued with the energy of the sun itself, symbolizing courage and invincibility. Karna's life was shaped not only by his divine lineage but also by his strong astrological connections. As the son of Surya, the sun's celestial significance loomed large over his existence. The sun represents vitality, leadership, and a strong sense of self. Karna's unwavering self-belief, courage, and strength in battle were a direct manifestation of the sun's influence. His aura was imbued with this powerful celestial energy, making him an indomitable force on earth. Astrologically, Karna was born under the nakshatra of Punarvasu, which is ruled by Jupiter, the planet of wisdom, prosperity, and spiritual growth. This birth star signifies a character who is capable of great inner growth, noble intentions, and deep spiritual insight. While Karna's life was marred by struggle and conflict, the influence of Punarvasu imbued him with the potential for wisdom and righteousness, even amidst the chaos of war. His ability to rise above his circumstances and make difficult decisions reflected the profound spiritual qualities of Punarvasu. Karna's life is often viewed through the lens of karma, where the cosmic law of action and consequence plays a central role in shaping his destiny. His divine birth and earthly struggles are seen as a means of working off past karma, with each challenge offering him the opportunity to evolve and achieve spiritual liberation. Despite his greatness, Karna was bound by his own karma, and his tragic end reflects the complex interplay between destiny and free will. His life reminds us that, while we are shaped by our past, our choices in the present still hold the power to influence the future. Although Karna was born with a divine lineage and was bound by the forces of destiny, his life also exemplified the power of free will. Karna made decisions based on loyalty, honor, and self-respect, even when those choices led to his downfall. He chose to stand by Duryodhana, despite knowing the cost, and he chose to fight with honor in the war, even when faced with the truth of his own fate. Karna's story teaches us that, while we may not control all aspects of our destiny, our choices still define who we are. Karna's legacy is not just defined by his role in the Mahabharata, but by his character, a character that transcended time. The choices he made, the loyalty he upheld, and the sacrifices he endured for the greater good make him one of the most revered figures in Hindu mythology. He is not just remembered as a warrior. He is remembered as a symbol of honor, integrity, and the complexities of human nature. His legacy reminds us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, we can choose to live with dignity and courage. Karna's death marked the tragic conclusion of his journey. In the final battle of the Kurukshetra war, Karna faced Arjuna in a fierce duel. However, his divine armor, the source of his invincibility, was lost, rendering him vulnerable. He was a warrior worn down by fatigue and wounds, unable to retrieve his celestial weapon. As the battle reached its most intense moments, Karna's fate seemed sealed. At this crucial moment, Krishna intervenes, offering Karna a profound insight. He reminds Karna of his divine lineage and the harshness of his life's journey. Despite being born to Surya, the sun god, Karna had been denied recognition, respect, and the privileges that should have been his. Krishna speaks of Karna's misfortune, how his entire life had been a series of tests that shaped his character. Through Krishna's words, Karna begins to understand the true meaning of his struggles and his place in the cosmic order. Krishna encourages Karna to let go of his anger, resentment, and the desire for vengeance. He speaks of the importance of accepting one's fate with grace and humility. Through Krishna's teachings, Karna gains clarity, realizing that his struggles were not in vain. They were meant to purify his soul and guide him towards spiritual enlightenment. He finds peace in the realization that his life has been a test, and his death, too, is part of the divine plan. With Krishna's teachings resonating in his heart, Karna prepares to face his death. He thanks Krishna for the guidance, acknowledging the depth of his soul's journey. As Arjuna's final arrow strikes him, Karna leaves his mortal form. His death is not one of defeat but of ultimate acceptance, an acceptance of his fate, his Dharma, and his divine purpose. As he dies, his legacy of valor, sacrifice, and unwavering commitment to duty endures. Karna's life, filled with battles and struggles, imparts several profound lessons. The first is the impermanence of material possessions. Despite his wealth and invincibility, Karna's life shows that true fulfillment comes from within. The second lesson is the power of self-awareness. Krishna's teachings helped Karna realize the illusory nature of the world and transcend his suffering. Finally, Karna's ability to let go of anger, material desires, and the attachment to vengeance teaches us the importance of detachment and surrender to the divine will. Despite fighting on the side of the Kauravas, Karna remained true to the principles of Dharma. His unwavering commitment to duty, even in the face of adversity, is a testament to his noble character. Karna's life teaches us that Dharma is not always easy to follow, but it is the path that leads to ultimate fulfillment. Even when faced with difficult choices, Karna stayed loyal to his sense of righteousness and honor, making him a hero not just in battle, but in the true sense of the word. Karna's life is a rich tapestry of symbolism, revealing deep spiritual insights despite its tragic nature. His journey offers valuable lessons, shedding light on the complexities of duty, desire, identity, karma, and the warrior's path. These themes, woven throughout his story, provide profound reflections on the human condition and the nature of spiritual growth. Karna's unwavering loyalty to his adoptive parents, the Sutas, symbolizes the human struggle between duty and desire. Despite his divine birth, Karna seeks recognition and acceptance, mirroring our own universal yearning for validation. His internal battle between his obligations and personal desires reflects a core struggle that everyone faces, the challenge of reconciling personal ambitions with larger responsibilities. Karna's ever-shifting identity, from a divine child to a foster son, a warrior, and ultimately a king, highlights the transient and illusory nature of human identity. His life reflects how identities are shaped by societal expectations, often obscuring our true selves. Karna's story serves as a reminder that identity, although deeply ingrained in our lives, is not permanent, and our true nature lies beyond external roles and labels. Karna's life exemplifies the profound power of karma, the law of cause and effect. His actions, both conscious and unconscious, created the circumstances of his life. Each choice, no matter how small, left an indelible mark on his destiny. This theme reflects the idea that everything we do, no matter how seemingly insignificant, contributes to the unfolding of our lives. Karna's life shows how our choices and actions shape our experiences and the world around us. Karna's journey as a warrior symbolizes the spiritual path. The battlefield, where he faces his enemies, represents the inner conflict of the mind, where we battle our desires, fears, and ego. His ultimate defeat can be seen as a necessary surrender to the divine will, a step toward liberation. This aligns with the idea that the path of the warrior is not about victory in the worldly sense, but about self-realization, transcendence, and surrender to a higher truth. Karna's immense potential, both as a warrior and a leader, remains unfulfilled, constrained by the circumstances of his birth, societal bias, and his choices. His story serves as a poignant reminder that even the most gifted individuals may be hindered by external forces and internal limitations. Despite his talents, Karna's journey reflects how external factors, fate, and our personal decisions can influence the extent to which we can realize our potential.